Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr and welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing day 7 of my Handmade Hearts and Things 2021 series where I'm sharing 14 love or Valentine's themed ideas. Today I have mini Slimline Heart Garden cards. These are awesome little mini sizes of Slimline cards that are so much fun to create. They can be Valentine's or love themed, or with a few switch ups, they can easily be used for other occasions as well. If you guys have been following me, you know that I'm a big fan of being able to kind of switch up some sentiments with a little switcheroo and make them into cards that maybe aren't necessarily a season or holiday or occasion and could be maybe switched out for birthdays or love or thinking of you or friendship, whatever the case may be. I went ahead and stamped on this slimline panel with the Heart Garden stamp. It's a cling stamp from Simon Says Stamp using Jellyfish ink so I can do some no line coloring. This panel is cut from Bristol Smooth cardstock. It measures 2 7/8 by 6 inches. And then before I do any of my no line coloring, I'm going to very lightly stencil with spun sugar and picked raspberry ink using the Reverse Hearts Simon Says Stamp stencil. Just some really light pink hearts in the background. I purposely chose Distress ink as it's a water-based ink, reacts with water, and when I color over it with Zigs, which are also a water-based marker, it's going to blend that color out, meaning I'm not going to have a harsh line through any of these hearts. I did try to go very light over anywhere where I do have the hearts from the Heart Garden stamp to color, but it just is going to make all of that blend out into the background perfectly, especially when using the Bristol Smooth cardstock, which is my preferred cardstock when using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I know I get asked that a lot, and it is the only cardstock I use with the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. It gives you superior results in my opinion, and they just go on it smooth like butter. I am using some color combinations that are all in the pink and red color family with pretty green stems and leaves. Sugared almond pink, peach pink, light carmine, carmine red are the colors for the hearts. I am also including a blender so I can blend out that color for some nice shading. You'll notice that I am tracing out the Jellyfish no line coloring outline with my marker and then pulling that color with the darker shade and then pulling that color to the center of each heart bloom with either a blender or a lighter shade in that same color family. Then I'm coloring in the stems with light green ink and yellow green for the leaves. I'm going to do this exact same step for both cards. So I created 2 cards today. I have been creating more than one card for many of my cards lately. I just have that feeling that if you already have the supplies out, why not? See what all you can use. There are so many fantastic stamp sets out there. I love mixing and matching sentiments, so I'll often create a very similar background and just mix it up with different sentiments. Next, I have some greetings from the Happy Days stamp set. That is where the big love you and the so very much sentiments are coming from. Happy Valentine's Day is actually from the PAWSOME stamp set, and I am going to stamp that up at the top first with a little watermelon Simon Says Stamp ink. So that card, I'm not including any other stamp sets for the second card, but for this first one I was looking for a Happy Valentine's Day that matched the fonts and things from the Happy Days 6x8 stamp set that I'm using for everything else, and so I kind of just went to some another stamp set that I've used recently because I really like the size of that little strip. That was stamped directly on the background of the panel. Then on another piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock, I have stamped Love You from the Happy Days stamp set using a clear embossing ink and heat embossing with white embossing powder. I'm next going to lay down a little bit of the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers that I have already used for coloring in the Heart Garden border. But this time I'm going to pull that color kind of up towards the top of each letter with a blender brush, a water pen that is filled with water, which gives you that beautiful watercolored effect for the letters. The embossed area is going to help hold the water in that shape, which I totally love. And the sentiment is going to perfectly match our card since we're using all those same colors. This again is going to be repeated for the second card. We're just using a different sentiment, the word joy, so it's going to be a little less coloring. Now I'm going to set that aside to completely dry, and I'm going to stamp the phrase "so very much" on some Simon Says Stamp cotton candy cardstock using the clear embossing ink and heat embossing with white embossing powder. I purposely stuck to pinks and reds and whites for my card, including the sentiment. So yes, I did a white outline, embossed outline for the big Love You. The Happy Valentine's Day is in a red. And then this is going to be on a little pink cardstock strip. I love how the white embossing looks on this. It just ties everything into the design so beautifully. You can trim this with a paper trimmer or scissors if you want. I am going to use the Sentiment Labels dies from Simon Says Stamp. I use them all the time. They're one of my most often used tools. I call it a tool because I just really feel that they're extremely versatile, and I'm able to get a perfectly die cut strip, which I really love. It gives you the look of a pre-made strip. I've backed that strip with foam adhesive, and then I'm popping it up along the bottom of the card. This kind of also helps balance everything out. A mini slimline card base measures 6 1/8 inch by 6 1/4 inches. So I've trimmed my cardstock. I'm going to make sure the card is scored, and then I'm going to put adhesive on the front and adhere that panel, pardon me, to my mini slimline card base. I missed a little leaf there, so I'll just add in a little yellow green to fill that in. I'm going to go ahead and die cut the Love You using the coordinating Happy Day die. I decided that I was going to glue this directly to my card base. I tried to decide whether I wanted to pop it up with foam adhesive or not, but ultimately I decided adhering directly to the card base was going to work better, as I want to add some little pink jelly hearts inside the circles in the letters O, and those die cut from the shape with the die, which I love. I think that's a fantastic little perk to this particular die because it really gives it a beautiful finished look. And I think the jelly hearts will look better with this flat. Then I'm going to put some acrylic blocks on top while this is drying. I put liquid adhesive behind it, and then I'm going to take these great little heart accents. These are the Little Things Droplets Blossom Hearts, and these are Lucy's Little Things. I absolutely love these. I think they're so pretty. And we're going to just add some to the center of the letter O's, like I was saying. One centered down here underneath the little popped up phrase along the bottom of the card, and then scatter a few throughout our heart garden as well. This just adds a nice touch of embellishment and a little extra heart detail to our card. I'm using a little Ranger multi-matte medium to add little drops of glue, and then using an embellishment wand or crystal katana, jewel picker, there's lots of names for these, to pick up the pieces and put them in place. These are an invaluable tool if you use a lot of small pieces, small die cuts, sequins, as it makes it easy to pick them up and put them in place. Let's go ahead and set that one aside and finish our second card. I've already finished the background and the coloring off camera, as it's the same as the first card. I've stamped "You Bring So Much" from the Happy Days stamp set using the Simon Says Stamp watermelon ink. We're going to stamp and heat emboss the word joy from Happy Days, and then again color this in with Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I'm using peach pink, carmine, and light carmine for the colors for this one. This one is a little bit smaller, but the same principle of design applies to this one. Everything is very much similar and the same. There are lots of different greetings from this stamp set, so you can definitely mix and match to make a sentiment that works for the occasion. There's even the word happy, so I think a happy birthday would be nice. If you don't want to do an outline, there's also a phrase that says sending you happiness that fits really nicely in this particular card. So you can do like sending you happiness and much love. Lots of ways to kind of mix and match that, as I mentioned. So it's a really nice 6x8 sentiment stamp set that gives you a little bit more interest, I guess, like the outline letters and things like that, as well as lots of little phrases. Again, we're going to die cut that once that is completely dry, and then glue that in place underneath the phrase we've stamped at the top. I'm going to stamp and emboss another phrase, so it's similar to the first card. We are doing the "You Make Me So Happy" sentiment. We're going to stamp it with clear embossing ink and heat emboss with white embossing powder before die cutting with that sentiment labels Simon Says Stamp die and popping it up with foam adhesive along the bottom edge of our card. Everything from here is going to be the same for the second card as far as adding the little blossom heart embellishments. We're going to scatter those throughout. We're going to put one little one in the center of the O on the word joy. When I'm using a sentiment labels die, I like to line it up with one side of the stamped sentiment, run it through the die cutting machine, flip the sentiment around, and line up the other side and run it through again. And you don't even have to run it through all the way. I generally just tape it in place and start with that end. And when I hear the click from when you start running it through, you know how the plates make that clicking sound, kind of is what I call it. That's all you need to cut that just little straight line on the other side. Now, something I thought would make these super special is Simon Says Stamp just came out with mini slimline envelopes in colors that make your envelopes so special. So I don't know if I've talked about Simon Says Stamp envelopes in a while, but I'm a huge fan of Simon Says Stamp envelopes. They come in tons of colors. They're beautiful. Not only do they have A2 sized envelopes, they have slimline colored envelopes, and now mini slimline envelopes. So I want to have matching envelopes for these sweet little cards. There are also in the Simon Says Stamp store mini slimline card bases. I did make my own. I don't have any yet. I have some that in my shopping cart that I need to check out because I love having card bases just readily available. But I did trim down some cardstock and made my own for this project today, so you can definitely do that if you want to. But on that cotton candy in mini slimline envelope, I am also stamping the Heart Garden just kind of off one side using the clear embossing ink and heat embossing with white embossing powder. So it's going to match, but it's just going to be very subtle. I want to make sure that I'm only doing that along the left side so that leaves plenty of room to write the address, and then I also tried not to do it too high so that there's room for a return address up in the upper left corner if you want to as well. We're going to do this on both envelopes so they completely match. Then probably my favorite product, or one of them anyway, from the most recent Simon Says stamp release, the Love You 2 release, is the Sassy Flaps stamp set. We're going to use that to customize the flap of our envelope and also the back of our mini slimline cards. So there's lots of different phrases you can use, and they're cute and punny and funny, all of the great things there. Things like a lick-free envelope, no licking was involved when sealing this envelope. I know I've talked about these in some other recent videos as well. It is a great stamp set. I'm just going to stamp open here. Nothing very sassy about that. But I like how I picked it mostly because I loved how it was in a box and it really matches the sentiments I had on the cards, and it also decorated the flap. So that was kind of my thinking there. And then on the back of the mini slimline cards, we're actually going to use another phrase from the stamp set. We're going to use this card, costs 10 times more than a store-bought one because hashtag only the best for you. I think that's hilarious. I hope that whoever gets these cards thinks it's as funny as I do. We're just going to stamp that with watermelon ink along the bottom edge of each mini slimline card. Above that, I am stamping with a custom stamp that says Handmade by Nichol. I know I get questions about this every time I show it in a video. I do not have a source for this. It was a gift. I am so sorry about that. Even the person who gave it as a gift actually made them, so I don't have a source. I'm so sorry about that, you guys. I'm looking for one to share with you, and when I find something, I will definitely let you know. I always stamp the back of my cards with that just because I like to have that nice little touch on the back so the recipient knows that it was made. I'm going to show you slipping these cards in the envelope. I have to say, this is my first time making a mini slimline and I'm completely addicted. I really, really like this size. I like the slimlines. It can be a lot more real estate. There's definitely some great stamps and dies that work great with those, but this size is just kind of a nice little in-between an A2 and a slimline, which I think is super fun and maybe is a great way to start out with a slimline if you haven't joined that craze yet. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this mini slimline Heart Garden card an envelope set featuring Simon Says stamp products. The supplies I use to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here is another video featuring Simon Says stamp products that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.